There are moments in life when the weight of our circumstances feels almost unbearable, when the road ahead seems shrouded in uncertainty, and when our hopes are veiled by the fog of doubt. We may find ourselves asking, is this all there is? Is there something greater on the horizon? It is in these times of questioning, when it seems like nothing is changing, that God is often preparing the most remarkable surprises for us. His ways are not our ways, and His timing is not the same as our own. But in the grand design of things, we are called to trust the process, for it is in that trust that the most profound blessings will be revealed. It is easy to become disheartened when life does not unfold as we expect. The world around us is driven by the need for instant results, for quick fixes, for the satisfaction of immediate desires. Yet, God's work in our lives is far deeper and more intricate than any quick answer or fleeting pleasure. Often, His surprises come when we least expect them, when we have surrendered our own plans, and when we have trusted that He is working in ways we cannot yet see. The process we must go through to receive these divine surprises is not always an easy one. It may involve seasons of waiting, of growth, and of trials, but each moment is part of the greater plan He has for us. The discomfort, the questions, and the delays are not signs that we are abandoned or forgotten. On the contrary, they are part of the preparation. They are shaping us, refining us, and making us ready to receive the gifts that God has in store. So, in the midst of the waiting, in the moments of uncertainty, we are called to trust. Trust that God is not only aware of our situation, is actively at work in it. Trust that, while we may not understand the steps He is leading us through, He is leading us somewhere far greater than we could have imagined. And when the time is right, when the process has reached its fulfillment, God will surprise us in a way that only He can, bigger, grander, and more wonderful than we could ever have hoped. In a world that thrives on speed, impatience often becomes the unseen burden we carry. The very notion of waiting seems foreign to us, something we try to avoid or even resist. We are constantly told to hurry, to keep moving forward, to never pause for too long, as though stagnation were the ultimate sin. Yet in the divine wisdom of God, waiting is not a mark of failure, but of preparation. It is in the quiet stillness of waiting that we often experience some of the most profound transformations in our lives. God is preparing us in ways we cannot see, and it is in this patience that we learn to trust Him on a deeper level. Waiting, when viewed from our earthly perspective, can feel like a test of endurance, an endless stretching of our hearts and minds. How? We might feel as though we are being held back, as if the very force of time is conspiring against us. But in reality, God uses waiting as a tool to refine us, to shape our hearts, and to prepare us for the blessing He has in store. The waiting is not a punishment. It is an invitation to grow, to become stronger, and to learn the kind of patience that comes only when we trust in God's perfect timing. When we are in a season of waiting, it is easy to forget that God is still at work. Our human minds are inclined to measure progress in terms of what we can see, touch, and accomplish. We are driven by goals, deadlines, and external markers of success. However, God's work is often done in the unseen places of the heart. Yuri. The waiting process is not merely about standing still. It is about preparing our hearts for the unimaginable. We may not see the fruits of our waiting immediately, but in that waiting, God is laying the foundation for something far greater than we could have planned or imagined. The power of waiting is also in the way it teaches us surrender. We are faced with the reality that we are not in control, that the timing of our lives is not something we can dictate. In these moments of surrender, we learn to trust God more fully, to relinquish our grip on the outcome, and to trust that He is leading us in a direction that we cannot yet fully comprehend. Waiting teaches us that God's plan for us is not one that can be rushed, and that His timing is always, without fail, perfect. During the waiting, we are also taught endurance. Patience is not the passive acceptance of time, but the active decision to trust and to endure with faith. With faith, it is a choice to continue moving forward, even when we cannot see the end. The power of waiting lies in the strength it builds in us, the kind of strength that comes from trusting in something greater than ourselves. This strength is not forged in the moments of comfort and ease, but in the tension of waiting, the quiet moments when it feels as though nothing is happening at all, and yet It is precisely during these moments when God is preparing the most unexpected blessings for us. The blessings that come after a season of waiting are often the ones that surprise us the most. We expect a small, incremental shift, perhaps a mild change, a quiet blessing. But God, in His infinite wisdom, often surprises us with something far greater than we could have imagined. Our waiting has not been in vain. It has been a process that has refined us, shaped us, and made us ready for the blessing that God has been preparing all along. God's surprises come when we least expect them. They arrive not when we have forced them into being, but when we have learned to trust in the process, to wait with patience, and to surrender to His will. These surprises are not random acts of fortune. They are the culmination of God's careful and deliberate work in our lives. His plans are never hastily made, nor are they ever left to chance. Every moment of waiting has been part of His divine timing, preparing us for a gift that will exceed our expectations. So as we wait, let us remember that this time is not wasted. It is a time of preparation, of transformation, of quiet growth. We are being shaped and refined for something greater, something beyond our understanding. And when the time is right, when God's timing aligns with ours, He will surprise us in a way that is nothing short of miraculous. Our waiting will have been worth it, for it will have brought us closer to the blessing that God has prepared for us. In life, there is a certain tension between what we desire and what God desires for us. We often find ourselves running ahead, trying to achieve things on our own, working tirelessly to make things happen. We push against the delay, trying to force open doors that seem locked. Yet the truth is that delays are not denials, and they are not signs of failure or abandonment. In God's infinite wisdom, delays are part of His perfect plan to bring us to the place we need to be at the precise moment He has determined. At first glance, a delay can feel like a setback, a moment when everything seems to stop, when progress halts, and when our hopes seem to diminish. We live in a world where instant gratification is the norm. Everything can be accessed with the touch of a button, and waiting for anything feels inconvenient, even uncomfortable. But God's ways are not aligned with the pace of the world. He operates on a divine timetable that is often very different from our own. It is in the moments of waiting that our trust in Him is refined, strengthened, and deepened. The delay becomes a tool that God uses to grow us, not a hindrance to our progress. In God's economy, delays are not a punishment. They are not an indication that we have somehow failed or that we have been forgotten. On the contrary, delays are an opportunity for growth, for patience, and for trust. When God says not yet, He is not saying no. He is simply preparing us for the right moment, when the timing is perfect. God knows the exact moment when we will be ready to receive the blessing He has prepared for us. And it is in that moment, when His timing aligns with our lives, that everything falls into place. The process of trusting God's timing requires a surrender of control. We must come to terms with the fact that we cannot dictate the flow of life. We cannot rush things, force things to happen, or hurry through the chapters of our story. We must learn to trust that God knows what He is doing, even when we cannot see the bigger picture. This surrender is not easy. It requires us to let go of our desire for immediate results and to embrace the reality that God's timing is always right. There are seasons when we may feel as though we are stuck, when progress seems to stall, and when the desires of our hearts are not being fulfilled in the way we hoped. But it is precisely in these seasons of waiting that God is doing His most profound work in us. He is cultivating patience, teaching us endurance, and preparing our hearts for something greater than what we initially expected. The delay is not a denial. It is a season of preparation, one that equips us to receive the blessings that God has in store. Trusting in God's timing also means recognizing that our perspective is limited. We see only a fraction of the picture, while God sees the whole tapestry of our lives. He knows what we need, and when we need it, He knows the timing that will lead to our greatest growth, our deepest joy, and our most profound blessings. What seems like a delay to us is merely God's way of orchestrating everything in its perfect time. And when that moment comes, we will understand that the waiting was not wasted. It was part of the divine process that led us to something far greater than we could have planned for ourselves. There is a profound peace that comes when we trust in God's timing, we trust in God's time. It is the peace of knowing that we are not in control and that we do not need to be. It is the peace that comes when we release our grip on our own plans and allow God to lead us in His own way. It is the peace that comes when we trust that, even in the delay, God is at work, shaping us, refining us, and preparing us for the moment when He will reveal His perfect plan. So let us not grow weary in waiting. Let us not become discouraged by the delays we encounter in life. Instead, let us trust that God is doing something greater than we can imagine. Let us trust that He is working behind the scenes, aligning everything in His perfect timing. The delay is not a denial. It is simply the preparation for the incredible surprise that God is about to reveal to us. Embracing the process of life means accepting that every step, no matter how small, insignificant or challenging, has a purpose. It is easy to focus solely on the end goal, to long for the moment when the waiting is over and the dream is realized. But the true beauty of life lies not just in the destination, but in the journey itself. God is not only concerned with where we are going, He is deeply invested in how we get there. Each step, no matter how it may feel at the time, is leading us closer to the surprising blessings that He has in store for us. When we embrace the process, we are essentially saying that we trust God's plan. We trust that He is in control, that He is leading us, and that every experience, good or bad, is part of His divine design. The steps may not always make sense to us. At times the road may seem long, winding, and even treacherous. There may be moments when we question whether we are on the right path, whether the delays, setbacks, and challenges are part of the plan. But if we trust in God, we will come to understand that every step is a step closer to the greater blessing He has for us. In the midst of the process, it is easy to become discouraged. We may look around and see others seemingly reaching their goals effortlessly while we are still struggling, still waiting, still walking along a path that feels uncertain. But God's process is unique for each of us. Our lives are not meant to be compared with the lives of others. The steps we take, the obstacles we face, and the lessons we learn along the way are all designed to shape us for the specific purpose God has for us. When we embrace the process, we allow ourselves to grow. We stop rushing through the lessons, the challenges, and the waiting periods, and instead we settle into the understanding that God is working through all of it. It is in these moments of growth that we are being prepared for the blessings ahead. The struggles we face are not punishments, they are refining fires, meant to purify us and strengthen our faith. And in the end, when we look back, we will see that every single step, every difficulty, every trial, every triumph was part of a greater plan to bring us closer to the surprise that God had waiting for us. God's surprises are not always the ones we expect. We often imagine the blessings we want to receive in a certain way, perhaps in the form of success, recognition, or material wealth. But God's surprises are often much deeper, more profound, and more life-changing than we can imagine. The true blessings He has for us are not always the ones we seek, but the ones He knows will fulfill us in ways that we cannot fully understand. These blessings are often the result of the process, the lessons we learn along the way, the strength we gain, and the faith we build as we navigate through life's journey. When we embrace the process, we begin to see the beauty in the mundane, the extraordinary in the ordinary. We understand that the little things, each small decision, each step forward, each moment of surrender, are all leading us to something greater. We see that the process is not something to endure, but something to embrace, for it is in the process that we are being shaped, molded, and prepared for the blessings that God has in store. It is in the waiting, the striving, the pushing forward that we learn what it means to trust God fully. It is when we release our need for control, when we stop focusing on the outcome and start focusing on the journey, that we begin to see the miracles in the process. We may not always see the bigger picture in the moment, but as we move forward, step by step, God is leading us closer to the fulfillment of His promises. God's surprises are often revealed in the most unexpected ways. The very process that feels like a struggle, the moments of waiting that seem unbearable, are all part of a greater plan. And when the time comes, when the blessings are finally revealed, we will see that every step, every moment of waiting, every challenge was worth it. God has been at work all along, orchestrating our lives in ways that we could never have imagined. And when we embrace the process, we not only come to know Him more deeply, but also become ready to receive the great surprises he has prepared for us. Life often leads us through valleys that seem dark and unyielding, where the weight of our trials presses upon us and the path forward seems obscured. We may feel as though we are caught in a storm, unable to see the sky beyond the clouds. Yet it is in these very moments of struggle that God is at work in the most profound ways. The trials we face are not simply obstacles, they are opportunities for growth, transformation, and eventual triumph. They are part of the process that prepares us for the incredible blessings that God has promised to reveal. From the perspective of our finite human understanding, trials often seem like punishments, like periods of suffering with no purpose. Yet God sees them differently. He uses these challenges to shape us, to refine us, and to teach us the lessons we need to learn. As we come to the close of this journey through life's processes, it is important to reflect on the lessons we have learned along the way. We began by understanding that delays are not denials, that when God says, "not yet," it is not because he has forgotten us, but because he is preparing us for the right moment. The waiting, although difficult, is a necessary part of his perfect timing. In the moments of delay, we are being shaped, refined, and strengthened in ways we may not fully recognize, but in hindsight, we will see the wisdom of his ways. We also learn that embracing the process is not just about enduring the difficult times, but about understanding that every step, every trial, every setback, every victory is leading us towards something greater. Life is not merely about reaching the destination, but about how we are transformed on the journey. God does not rush us through the lessons we need to learn. He takes his time, guiding us with patience and care, knowing that the process is just as important as the prize, a prize. In the midst of our struggles, we discover that trials are not obstacles, but opportunities. Opportunities to grow in faith, to develop perseverance, and to trust God more deeply. When we face trials, it is easy to lose sight of God's hand at work. But in reality, it is during our struggles that he is closest to us, teaching us to rely on his strength rather than our own. The difficulties we face are not signs of abandonment, but of God's refining fire, preparing us for the blessings that will follow. Finally, we learn that the process is not only about personal growth, but about a deep trust in the timing of God's plan. He is always at work behind the scenes, orchestrating everything in his perfect way. The surprises that await us are not random or accidental. They are the results of a divine process that God has set in motion long before we even realized it. He is leading us to a place of fulfillment, a place where his plans for our lives will come to fruition, and when the moment comes, it will be more glorious than we could have imagined. Trusting the process means recognizing that we are not in control. It means surrendering our own plans and allowing God to lead us in his own way. As we walk through the seasons of life, there will be moments when we feel lost, unsure, or uncertain. But it is in those moments that we are called to trust that God's timing is perfect, that his plan is good, and that the blessings he has in store for us are worth every moment of waiting. In the end, when God reveals the surprises he has prepared for us, we will understand that every delay, every trial, every challenge was a step towards something greater. We will see how the process, although difficult at times, was exactly what we needed to become the people he called us to be. And when we look back, we will marvel at how God has worked everything together for our good and his glory. So, as we continue our journey through life, let us embrace the process. Let us trust that God is leading us, even when we cannot see the way forward. And let us rest in the assurance that he is about to surprise us in ways we never imagined, all in his perfect time. This process is not only a journey toward the blessings we desire, but a journey that brings us closer to the heart of God. Trust in his timing, embrace the process, and prepare yourself for the incredible surprises he has in store for you.